He went 11-4 along with his teammates Collins Mullen and Jeremy Bertarioni in the Swiss rounds. Lee is going to be taking on Evan Whitehouse, 22 years old, from Cary, North Carolina. Playing humans, Evan Whitehouse, very familiar with this archetype, a very, very good humans player. If anyone can navigate the treacherous waters of Core Tappertron, it is in fact Evan Whitehouse, teaming with Casey Lancaster and Kane Rianhard, as he always does. And there you see both players getting ready for the semifinals, not the finals of SCG Richmond. We have complete graphics gremlins taking over right now.
We are just throwing curveballs.
Someone
left and
released the gremlins. They're in. These look correct to me. These matchups we're seeing right here.
I think the booth is just trying to test you.
Probably.
They're just feeling you out.
I failed. Just demote me now.
No, I think you caught him each step of the way.
Well,
You're doing all right.
True. Okay, thanks, Craig. Thanks for having my back. I knew I can count on you. See on the left-hand side, the team of Collins Mullen, Lee McLeod, Jeremy Bertarioni. Jeremy, of course, won the first team open of the season alongside Dominic Harvey. Now has betrayed Dom, working with a new team. I don't know if there's an actual betrayal. I probably shouldn't say things like that.
No, definitely. This is 100%.
You're sure it was a betrayal?
A2 Brutus here.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Lee doing some typical Tron things here. Just going to play Urza's Mine, Expedition map. Totally normal Tron deck. Nothing to see here. Here's an island. That's where things break down.
Yeah, less typical Tron stuff.
Meanwhile, Evan Whitehouse on a Noble Hierarch. What's the best one drop out of humans, Craig? Is it Ether Vial or is it Noble Hierarch?
Oh, it's probably either Vial.
Especially in this matchup, right?
Yeah, but Noble Hierarch is not far behind.
Well, there you see Chalice of the Void on one, only going to get one shot at the one drops. Making the most of it, though. Mantis Rider going to cruise over the battlefield, 4 points of damage in the air. Lee McLeod falling to 16. Going to go ahead and crack that Expedition map.
And we'll see if we want a Tron piece. We'll see if we want a Blast Zone.
Yeah, 4 Blast Zones in this deck, and I think that's one of the big highlights here. Lot of ability to deal with the battlefield for Lee McLeod.
But this is the important thing.
It is going to be Blast Zone. Look at that.
For the humans deck, is to get out quick like this and then follow it up with a little disruption. You don't want the disruption first and then not have enough pressure behind it. You want to get pressure on the board and then be able to interact with their hand.
Absolutely. Mishra's Bauble coming down. General uptick in baubles lately. Seeing a lot of Mishra's Baubles. I'm seeing Urza's Baubles over in Legacy. Folks are big on the baubles.
Yeah, I mean, just thinning your deck by 4 cards with the added, when you have fetch lands, it adds a little extra value. Getting to peek at your opponent's cards adds some extra value.
The Mox Opal synergies.
Mox Opal, exactly. There's a lot to be said for a card like this.
Well, here's 3 more mana, and it's going to be Big Bugs, Militia Bugler. Going to go a search and see in what kind of creatures we can find. Evan Whitehouse going to go ahead and take a peek. A little bit of confusion there. I think Evan went to resolve a different ability, possibly.
It's getting late in the day for all of us.
It's been a long day. I'm right there with him.
The Gremlins got Evan, too.
Bugler, of course, reveals the top 4 cards of your library. Well, excuse me, you get to look at them, then you reveal the one you're choosing. Power 2 or less is the restriction there. Evan thought he had Imperial Recruiter for a moment, a juiced-up Imperial Recruiter. We'll get that resolved. Honest mistake there from Evan.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting matchup. I've said it all weekend, but there's so many good cards and there's so many unexplored avenues. And we see a deck like this Charge-tron, this Core Tappertron deck popping up, and it kind of sprung out of nowhere, right? Like often we see a slow evolution of a deck where you first see it and you kind of make a face a little bit. You're like, what is this? And then a couple weeks later it pops up again and you're like, oh, this is a little better. Still not in the top 8 of the event. This deck has just sprung on the scene, and here it is.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it was about a week ago, and now it's in the top 8 of our Open. Top 4.
Yeah, it's funny how the buzz around these new decks starts to generate, and you start hearing a little bit about it. Then you hear a little more. Then someone chimes in with, oh, I did this result. I mentioned my local MCQ up in the Seattle area, top 4 from Tamgrams playing Core Tapper Tron.
Yep.
And then you hear this finish now, and then you start to think, well, wait a second. Maybe there's actually something here. Lee making a very good case that Charge Tron might be an archetype to be respected. Phantasmal Image found by that Militia Bugler.
It's a great find.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the other things that we've said about Modern specifically is that Hogak is sitting on top of the metagame right now, and potentially Charge Tron actually gets worse once Hogak disappears. People's sideboard open up a little bit more. There's more relevant artifact decks running around, and people show up trying to beat those decks instead of all the graveyard strategies.
Right. Plus, as we discussed, they're probably going to ban 15 to 20 cards, so that's really going to shake things up quite a bit.
Well, you decided yourself that that's what's going to happen.
Right. Correct. I do have that power. Astral Cornucopia. Modern classic here.
Yep, we see this one all the time.
This is a very silly card, and certainly I don't think the expectation was this was something that was going to set the constructed world on fire. But Astral Cornucopia in this deck capable of making copious amounts of mana. There you see Astral Cornucopia. Triple X. You don't see that casting cost all that often.
Well, for the low cost of 3 mana, you can get 1 back later.
That sounds like a steal. I'm in. Of course, Core Tapper breaking those rules in half, turning this into a very powerful mana engine indeed, alongside of ever-flowing Chalice. And they play so well with those Mystic Forge, 4 copies of Mystic Forge in Lee's deck. Here comes that Phantasmal Image we saw in the last turn. Chalice of the Void not doing all that much thus far.
Well, we don't know how many cards it's jamming up, but Evan Whitehouse is definitely executing an aggressive game plan here.
Yeah. Haven't been able to spend his mana on every turn. That's the key.
And Lee is just in such a bad spot here. Even if he finds in his Snaring Bridge, it's possible that he just has too many cards clogging up his hand.
Yeah. First result coming from one of the back tables. It's Collins Mullen. Game up on Casey Lancaster. Rakdos Reanimator 1-0 over Lance. Here is that Ensnaring Bridge you mentioned.
All right, can we deploy
3
some more
cards
spells?
right now. Here's a Chalice of the Void on 0. That clears 1. Going to tap that Astral Cornucopia for 2 more mana.
Well, 1 mana. Okay.
Sorry, in combination with Ghost Quarter, 2 mana. You are correct.
Yep.
It looks like we just passed there. So that's another Chalice on 1. It was not a Chalice on 0. 2 cards in hand. That does a nice job shutting down that Mantis Rider for the time being. But here's Deputy of Detention coming down just in time to grab that Ensnaring Bridge. Creature's going to get into the red zone. You're going to use the Mishra's Bauble, take a peek. It's open deckless, Lee. I mean, it's good form. It's a smart play if it wasn't open deckless.
Maybe he's just enjoying his time on camera.
Absolutely. Why not? Get those bauble triggers in while you can. And Evan Whitehouse up a game. Humans over Charge Tron. I mentioned I thought those Deputy of Detentions could be absolutely key in this matchup.
Yeah, those are one of the most important pieces of interaction that he's got going on there. When we look at this sideboard, we're going to see cards like Collector Oof, which can be very powerful, but that still does nothing against a bridge and an empty hand. It's really the Deputy of Detention that's the most important card here.
Yeah, and I think the sideboard options for Evan Whitehouse are actually fairly slim. You're going to see the 2 Collector Oofs. You're going to see 1 Deputy of Detention. The rest of the sideboard, 4 Auroch Champion, 2 Militia Bugler, 2 Plague Engineer, 4 Leyline of the Void. Doesn't excite me all that much. I think you just really want to stay pretty lean, stay aggressive like Evan did in that game. And as a Humans player, your best asset is often your clock. And I don't think you want to stray too far from that principle.
Sure. I think the Militia Buglers are also going to make their way into the deck here.
Okay.
There's enough cards that you want to take out. I mean, it's easy just starting with 4 Reflector Mage, right?
Right.
These are cards that you do not want in your deck anymore. So you're going to side in at least 4 cards. You start with the 2 Oath, the other Deputy, and that's 1 Militia Bugler right there. I think you can find room for the other Militia Bugler because in certain spots, digging for that Deputy is just that important.
Yeah, that seems absolutely fine to me. Meanwhile, over on Lee McLeod's side, we are looking at a sideboard of 2 Karn, Scion of Urza, 1 Sorceress Spyglass, 1 Walking Ballista, 2 Thought Not Seer, 1 Witchbane Orb, 1 Spellskite, 1 Wormcoil Engine, 1 Liquimetal Coating, 1 Mycosynth Lattice, 2 Welding Jar, 1 Ensnaring Bridge, and finally 1 Tormod's Crypt. What do you want to do if you're sitting in Lee's seat?
This is a tight spot because Lee does not have a lot of good cards for this matchup. The most compelling card that we see here is Walking Ballista, but you probably want to leave that card in your sideboard so that you can tutor it up with Karn.
Of course, 4 copies of Karn the Great Creator in the main deck for Lee.
So I just can't see bringing in a bunch of these other cards that they don't do enough.
Yeah, I mostly agree with you. I think the options are pretty slim here. You could think about a Wormcoil Engine, but it seems like you really want to leave most of this in the sideboard for Karn. Yep. We'll have to see how Lee adapts here. I'm sure this is not the first time he's played the Humans matchup. Humans still one of the pillars of the Modern format. One of the pillars of the Modern format literally not present in day 2. 0 copies of a certain deck. You want to guess what it is?
We're talking about Mono Green Tron?
No, there are a couple Mono Green Tron.
We ran through our...
I'll spoil the mystery for you, Craig.
Yeah, hit me.
Is it Phoenix? 0 copies of Is It Phoenix amongst day 2 players in Modern. I think that's pretty incredible, given how dominant Is It Phoenix was. Now, I will say there was 1 copy of Jeskai Phoenix, and that looks very similar to Is It Phoenix, but it's not the same deck, and I'm not going to let it ruin a good story for me.
Okay, sure.
Lexi Zavalia playing Jeskai Phoenix, 4 copies of Path to Exile as the only white cards in that deck. But on the whole, Is It Phoenix basically absent from the Modern portion of day 2?
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how just 3 months ago, or maybe just a little bit more than that, it was the #1 deck to be playing.
Right. Then Modern Horizons happened.
And then Modern Horizons happened.
It's really that simple.
Well, even post-Modern Horizons, there was all the talk of Aria of Flame just making the deck even better.
Of course.
And it seemed like it would stick around there to battle the Hogak decks.
Right. Well, during the first Hogak Team Open that you and I covered,
yep,
I would say it was neck and neck.
Yeah, there was more Phoenix decks running around than Hogak
You're
decks.
correct, and that's a fully powered up Hogak with Bridge from Below. Now, granted, I kind of dispute that point a little bit, if that was actually the most powered version of the deck. But still, as we saw it at the time, it seemed like the optimal build of the Hogak deck. And Is It Phoenix very much able to keep pace? Not anymore, though. Things have changed. Well, if you're as anxious as I am to get your hands on this Chargetron deck, see what it's capable of, why not head over to Game Night? Perfect environment to test out a new deck like this. And, of course, every week in August, you can get exclusive tokens and sleeves featuring none other than Gruff Champion this month. You see that little 2/2 knight there. Kind of adorable, kind of fierce. I'm feeling it. I like the Gruff Champion.
What aspect of the animal with horns and armor and a hammer is adorable?
Well, it's got a cute little goat face. Look, I'm going to put it right out there. I am a softie for all animals. So
it doesn't matter?
Yeah, anything like soft and pettable, I basically love. So, and even if it's not that pettable, I think snakes are dope, frogs are cool. Like all animals play
Scorpions?
For me. Scorpions I respect. Like I wouldn't say I want to like I don't want to pet a scorpion. Yeah, but I mean they handle their business. They do scorpion stuff really well. Got another result for you over in Mono Red Aggro versus Bant Ramp. Jeremy Bertarioni 1-0 over Kane right now. I spoke to Kane between rounds. We talked a little bit about the Mono Red matchup. In general, he thought it was close, slightly in his favor. He did say he was 0-3 today against Mono Red. And he's starting to rethink his position on just how good that matchup is.
It's funny how you can have an opinion, but
and then back off it pretty quickly.
Well, yeah, and then at some point you end up with more data.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I think this is good. Oh, I just played the matchup 5 times?
Not
All
good.
right, yeah.
It's not good. Decent little start here for Lee. Everflowing Chalice. Surge node online. Going to be able to charge up that Everflowing Chalice. But has to do so in response to Collector Oof. Big get there.
And the early Oof is definitely a problem in this situation.
Absolutely. It is going to cause some troubles with those Ancient Ziggurats. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, no troubles here.
No troubles. No troubles. I blanked on Ziggurat. I thought it was unclaimed territory. Day's getting long, Craig. Why is the day so long?
I don't know, but this is the finals, so we're okay.
That is false, unfortunately. We were lied to by our graphics. Collector Roof on the beatdown plan. Ensnaring Bridge now in play for Lee McLeod, but not able to leverage the mana from Everflowing Chalice due to that Collector Roof. Powerful new sideboard card from Modern Horizons.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know if Lee can get out from underneath and oof. Like, I guess he can Blast Zone it away.
That is true.
Blast Zone's going to be very important here.
We have an update from our other semifinals match.
Well, that was quick.
Yeah, and I'm not even giving you a game update. I'm giving you a result. Miller, Miles, Liu, on to the finals, defeating the team of Rogers, Kulik, and Azuelos. And we know one team. Who's going to join them? Right now, it looks in favor of the team of Mullen and Bertarioni and McLeod, but Evan Whitehouse trying to give his team their first match victory in the set.
And it's looking like a pretty good spot.
It does. Collector Roof really powerful here. And you're right. I'm looking at Lee's options. They're slim.
Yeah, it's Blast Zone or bust here, I
think. Basically, and that's not all that quick. That's a slow way to answer that Collector Roof. You have to spend a turn getting a counter on it. Then you have to blow it up.
Well, and part of the problem is he can't even empty his hand.
Right.
You know, just working off of the regular mana that he has.
Absolutely. Here's Cavern of Souls.
Do you name Oof there just for impact?
I think I'm still laughing in my head about getting out from under an oof. I don't know. For some reason, that's a very humorous phrase to me. Here's Meddling Mage.
It's tough to do.
And Meddling Mage is going to name Mystic Forge. Phantasmal Image going to come down. Find something to copy. We'll get word on exactly what that's copying. You can make a case for Oof. You can make a case for Militia Bugler. You can make a case for Meddling Mage here, I think. It is copying the Meddling Mage, we're being told. We'll find out exactly what it's naming in just a moment. It's like Karn the Great Creator is going to be the second card named by the Meddling Mage copy. So no Karn the Great Creator.
And this is funny on a couple of levels because on one level you're cutting off the best cards out of your opponent's deck, right? They have very few ways to interact with what you're doing. They need to dig through their deck in order to do that, and you just stop them from doing that with their best cards. On another level, you're stranding cards in their hand when they've got an ensnaring bridge on the board. And you've got this big army of 2-power creatures, and they can't empty their hand.
Yeah, tough spot here for Lee. Really feeling the pressure of the Collector Roof. Gonna go ahead and tap a couple mana here to deploy Walking Ballista for 1.
Yep, and it's going to stay there. Can't pump that thing. Can't remove the counter from that thing.
Yep.
Can chump block with that thing.
That's a sad state of affairs when the Walking Ballista is on chump blocking duty.
Well, it's generally one of the best cards against humans, too.
Absolutely. Not in this spot, though. Here's Kitesail Freebooter.
Showing us.
There's at least one Mystic Forge there. And a Karn the Great Creator.
Yeah, he's just 2 for 2 with his hits there.
Everflowing Chalice. Do you have to take a card with Kitesail Freebooter?
I don't know. It's easy for us to check here.
You choose a non-creature, non-land card from it. I don't think it leaves you the option not to take one, because I think that's something that Evan would have considered in this spot. But you know, given those Meddling Mages on the battlefield, the hand size has to stay at 2. It really can't go below that.
Well, and the Chalice costs 0. He can deploy that at any point if he wants to.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Here come the beats from this motley crew of 2-power creatures. They're rumbling in for 8, though. And Lee McLeod is going to have to find answers real quick. Going to make a chump block on that Collector Roof. Does Whitehouse have even more in the tank right now?
And this seems like just such a rough matchup.
Yeah. Lee unable to really get anything going here. It's just going to be an Ether Vial. Passes the turn back to Lee. Needs some kind of top deck here. I don't even know what we're looking for.
The old Nambo combo.
Well, we found...
Either Vile Collector, oof.
Yeah, not great.
No, it's worth it, though, right? Like,
sure. I mean, you see the impact of Collector Oof here. And, I mean, this draw just lined up perfectly for Evan Whitehouse. It did exactly what it needed to do. Completely restricted Lee's ability to play the game. Presented the clock he needed to, and just takes down this match. So Evan Whitehouse gets the first match of this 3-match series.
Making it look easy here.
It looked very easy. Very clean win for Humans there. 2-0 in Humans' favor. And that means we're going to watch one of the other set of players here. We're going to figure out exactly which match to bring you. See, all the matches are in the midst of their games right now. Kane Rianhard has a lot of counters on his side of the battlefield. If that's happening, I'm assuming things are going very well for him.
Sure.
I think that's a Nissa sitting on about 7 loyalty.
Nissa would have black dice, if I'm not mistaken.
But they weren't the camera match, so
That's
they
fair.
may not be adhering to that.
Doing whatever they want to do.
Yeah, and I would take a big bet that was a scoop from Bertarioni, and they're about to head to a deciding Game 3.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it was now.
All right. Kane demands more refreshment. Freshen my water bottle. Well, it looks like we have a match of Legacy going on that we can hop right into.
Oh, it looks like they're deep in it, too.
Yeah, we'll have to decipher this one. Hopefully there's a stash of pithing needles somewhere on the battlefield.
Huh? Hidden away.
It's a bit of inside baseball for you folks who have been here all weekend, relentlessly watching us on coverage.
Can't get enough.
Craig and I parsed a very difficult battlefield earlier in the weekend, covered in pithing needles. That made it almost impossible to understand what was going on. But here, a little bit cleaner. There's some big creatures on the battlefield. That I can understand. Even a simpleton like me gets it.
Yeah, tell me, what are these big creatures?
Looks like we have a Gristlebrand and a Chancellor of the Annex.
I got those. Okay, there's a 2020 token on the other side.
Now we have a 2020. There's a Jerry T showing up. All these creatures pretty big.
And I would guess those are clue tokens with the 2 counters on it.
It's probably a good guess.
And the tireless tracker there.
Drop of honey seemingly in Casey Lancaster's hand.
Mm-hmm.
Casey with a bit of a bizarre arrangement of permanents here, but I think I know what's going on. I think there's a very big and a very angry Jerry Thompson token on his side of the battlefield. It looks like Collins Mullen on just 1 life.
Yeah, he's just drawn a mess of cards here, and now we're going to see if he can crawl out from underneath.
Well, here's an Entomb. That's a good start. Ashen Rider.
All right, now we all need to do our reminder text on the Ashen Rider.
I am just curious. I think it's an exile.
Exile.
But I am not 100% on that, so we're going to certainly check that out.
It is an exile.
Okay, so that's the answer we're looking for here. Here's a Dark Ritual from Collins Mullen. Another Animate Dead. Tireless Tracker.
He doesn't have enough cards to work with already?
Some people just love drawing cards.
Okay, this is why he took this route.
Time to reanimate, and here comes Ashen Rider.
There were twofold benefits to what he did there. Both his opponent does not get to recur anything out of the graveyard from the Exhume, and he's got an extra creature on the board if the Drop of Honey comes down.
Makes a lot of sense. Gonna move to the discard step. Discards Archetype of Endurance. All your creatures get hexproof. Another decent option for Mullen, letting him further cement this game if he gets a little bit more time. Turn now back to Lancaster. Lancaster just searching for a way into this game. Step one, crack a clue.
Well, I feel like he's close. Right? He can attack here, force a trade potentially, then deploy the drop of honey afterwards. That deals with 2 creatures on the opponent's side, and then it takes something like a Maze of Ith to keep him in this game. But that doesn't really speak to the full grip that Collins is working with on the other side of the board.
Yeah, and don't forget that dies trigger on Ashen Rider either. It's going to exile something on the way out, too. There you see Drop of Honey during your upkeep. Let's read it as written. During your upkeep, the creature in play with the lowest power is destroyed and cannot be regenerated. If there is a tie, you choose which to destroy. Drop of Honey must be discarded if there are no creatures in play. God bless new templating.
So if you look at your opening hand,
yes,
and you have the Drop of Honey in it,
discard it.
It must be discarded.
Get rid of it. Unacceptable. If you want to see how this card actually reads now, look at periphery nodes. That'll give you a much clearer idea.
And it'll cost you less money.
Yes, it will. Quite a bit less money. Here's a crop rotation from Casey Lancaster. You mentioned finding a Maze of Ith. This is a good way to do so.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the plan is here. If the plan was Maze of Ith, this was not the time to do it.
Let's see. Let's see what the plan is. Oh, handshake. That's a less effective plan just in general.
Too much going on there.
Yeah, I think so. And this is an extremely, extremely trying matchup for the land side. Basically, as the land player, you want to avoid fast combo.
Yeah.
And I think there's little combo faster than Rakdos Reanimator in the format right now.
It's funny because I always feel like Reanimator is one of the most fragile decks, but it's also among the most explosive.
Absolutely. Well said. And that means there is going to be a deciding Game 3 played in this standard matchup between Jeremy Bertarioni and Kane Rianhard. Kane also starting to make his way up that leaderboard. Not quite in the same striking distance as Jeremy Bertarioni, but sitting in 14th place right now. Big performance here could catapult him up into the conversation as someone who's got a real shot getting into that Players' Championship.
Yeah, every win is just worth so much, and it really, like you said, catapults you up the board, and it gives you justification for keep going to events.
Absolutely. You get some buys, you get things rolling. Kane's going to have to overcome a bit of a cold streak in this matchup.
Yeah, I believe his opponent's starting on a mulligan. I believe Kane's on the play this game. Do we know that?
My assumption is that he won the last game, so should be on the draw here.
Okay. And it is a matchup that we said gets much better post-board.
Correct. It also gets much better when your opponent doesn't have a 1-drop, I believe. And that is the case for Bertarioni. Also no 2-drop. So that means Bertarioni is content playing this one a little slower. There you see Kane again with those tap lands that we saw doom him the last time he was on camera against Mono Red. Not punished as hard here. Tybalt going to be the play. Just going to make a devil, pass the turn back.
Oh, we don't have devils?
Oh, we have a devil right there, Jerry Thompson. A very appropriate devil to put off the
you like that one.
That's a good one. Devout Decree is the play. Going to get a scry here.
And we better have a green source. Okay.
We do. Forest, Llanowar Elves.
They make me so nervous sometimes, Ryan.
I know. I understand. I was holding my breath a little bit on that one, too. Going to go ahead and shock that Llanowar Elves, control the mana production. Wouldn't surprise me if that's Bertarioni's approach to this. Play a bit of a more controlling role until you get Experimental Frenzy online. We've seen the red decks do it all weekend.
Yes, we have. This isn't the start that you want. You know, you want a little pressure followed up by the Experimental Frenzy.
Ideally.
the empty board, or nearly empty board, into the frenzy just, it gives the opponent more time to do their own thing, which we know is a very powerful thing to be doing.
There's a lightning strike on that Hydroid Krasis. Devil still doing its thing, beating down. Just passes the turn back.
Is this still Jerry T?
There's some passing similarity, I would say. No, Jerry's a very good influence. If I had a Devil on my shoulder, it's more apt that Jerry would play the role of Angel than Devil.
Sure, he tries to steer you towards the best deck each event.
Generally, yes. And then I disregard him and do something ridiculous.
I was going to say, you have a pet deck that you're always chasing.
Right.
Yep.
Here's Lightning Strike in response to that Deputy of Detention. New templating on that card. That means that Devil's going to stick around, never leave the battlefield. Leafkin Druid follow-up. So the mana production online for Kane now.
Well, and he's got a lot of lands in play as well.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't been missing the land drops.
Yeah, a little bit of a scary start with the lands, but ultimately it worked out okay. Here's Chandra, Fire Artisan. Haven't seen as much of that card lately, but we know how effective it can be. Source of card advantage and damage, of course.
Yeah, and it's going to take cards like that to crawl back into this game.
Ooh, here's untapped 7th land. That's got to be scary for Bertarioni. Now we know why. Hydroid Krasis on 5, gain 2 life, draw 2 cards. Have a big body in play.
Yeah, and 5 is an important number
Yes,
if you're
it
trying
is.
to play around Lava Coil.
Yes, it is. No fight with fire. Chandra's going to tick up. Reveals Lava Coil.
I think you still take the 2-for-1 here.
Kane says no.
No, I'm saying if you're on the burn side, you Lava Coil.
Gotcha.
Use another burn spell.
Yep. Does Bertarioni have that burn spell is the question. Checking in with teammates here. High pressure situation. It's the second Lava Coil.
Double Coil.
Yeah. Both are going to head the way of the Krasis. That's exiled. Mountain, only 1 card in hand for Bertarioni. But Kane's going to need a follow-up here. Just saw 2 fresh new cards last turn. Good chance. There's still some gas in that hand.
Yeah, when you're drawing 2, 3, 4 cards a turn, you generally don't run out of gas.
Mm-hmm. Kane has apparently drafted Nick Miller to be on his team. Here's Nissa. Beautiful anime Nissa coming down. Kane loves those anime planeswalkers.
They're really neat, but boy, do they make it rough if you're not familiar with them
Yes,
for doing
they do.
coverage.
Yes, they do. Kane, a long-time Nexus player, loved his anime Tamios. Now switch to anime Nissas. Getting in the beats with that Glacial Fortress. Kane's going to pass the turn back to Jeremy Bertarioni.
Okay.
Ether Gust on that Chandra after draw step. The mismatched mountain comes down. That is visually jarring.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be a basic land snob now?
Look, I'm not a basic land snob, but there's just a stark contrast between those 2 basic lands.
There is.
I'm a fan of the mismatched basics. I really don't have any errors when it comes to what basics you have in your deck. It's just that struck me.
Yeah, those are, yeah, a little bit disjointed there. Oh, man.
A lot
this
of
one's
mana
gonna
being
be
tapped.
over real quick.
A lot of mana being tapped. Going to go ahead and activate.
There's probably nothing here, right?
I would assume this is the most giant of Krasi. 3, 4, 5.
All right, 10-10.
Is that all? This one looks to be about over, quite frankly.
That's because it is.
Yeah. I just don't know what Bertarioni can do against that. We, a little while ago, mused about hijacking Hydroid Krasis. First of all, I don't think that would be enough here. Second of all, there's no hijacks in Jeremy's list.
Sure, yeah, and it wouldn't be close.
Yeah. Kane surely with a hand filled with gas. And I will tell you, this team of Lancaster, Whitehouse, and Rianhard, they've had their successes, but they've also had a huge share of disappointment. They've lost many, many win-and-ins. They've lost in the top 8 a few times. They are always on the cusp of that absolute breakthrough performance, that trophy-getting performance. Maybe now is finally the time for the team of Lancaster, Whitehouse, and Rianhard.
So this is a redemption story, is what you're telling us.
Could be. I don't like to count my chickens, but things look very good on the side of Kane Rianhard. Well, that would be a much better Chandra. Started at 12. Unfortunately, only 5. Experimental Frenzy revealed by Chandra. Not going to do it, and that is going to get the handshake from Jeremy Bertarioni and the rest of the team. And that means Casey Lancaster, Evan Whitehouse, Kane Rianhard moving on to the finals. They're going to be taking on Miller.